welcome back to the Franchise Life. Today, we have a unique emerging concept that we are going to dive into called Lindora. And with me, I have Lance Freeman with the Xponential Group. Welcome, Lance.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is a concept that falls square in the health and wellness sector. And it is not, even though it's an emerging brand, it has been in business since 1971. And recently, the Xponential Group acquired the brand, but the previous founders of the brand, who are operating 31 clinics primarily in California, have now become franchisees of the brand. So let's dive into what Lindora is.
Well, I guess I would start off by saying it's so much more than a weight loss clinic. We look at this as really a leader in a movement of metabolic health and wellness. So, for those that are not familiar with what metabolic health is, it's vitality. It's feeling better, looking better. It's the fountain of youth. It's kind of battling the effects of aging. It's overall health and wellness. So it's Lindora's focus, really, if you will, is really helping its members to really make sustainable lifestyle choices through nutrition and medicine. And we're doing that through a medically guided weight management program with, I might add, a hospitality mindset. And that's really key, as especially when it comes to weight loss. Accountability is important, and also being able to come into a four-wall setting that's really non-intimidating and in an inclusive environment. Those are all the things that we really offer inside the Lindora box. There's a lot of things I like about the model, but I think one of the things that I like is that while we have multiple revenue streams in the model, it's not, there's still a focus in terms of, this metabolic health and wellness, where a lot of businesses, especially independent, that are trying to get into some of the pillars that we're into, they're going in a lot of different directions. They're doing aesthetics, they're doing weight loss, they're doing other things, and where we're really just focused on metabolic health and wellness. So, example, offering weight loss medications or hormone replacement or IV therapy, Zerona, which is a body contouring technology, things like that, that are all in that health and wellness range, if you will, and really seeking vitality. And that's really what the consumer is looking for today is again, anything that can help them battle the effects of aging and feel better, have more energy, and those types of things.
So weight loss is a big topic. We hear it across the news since now Ozempic, Weygovy are available to the public for weight loss. Are these tools that Lindora would use, or do you have a different prescription and methodology for weight loss?
Well, again, our prescription, if you will, is holistic. So yes, we have access to the Ozempic compounds and those types of weight loss medications and more. But again, we're not limited to just that in terms of helping someone lose weight. So there's coaching within the model as well to assist the member with that. There's accountability components to that as well. There are other supporting products and supplements that support the member if they're taking an Ozempic, because there can be side effects to these medications. And again, a lot of the support that we provide, whether it be in products or supplements or just coaching, can really help people through that period, because as with anything, weight loss can be challenging. And so those are, I think, some of the added benefits that we provide, in a Lindora, like B12 shots and things like that will help, again, from a metabolic standpoint.
Another aspect of Lindora, when I was looking at your website, that really stood out to me is that you also offer a meal opportunity, meals
Right.
that are available to your clients. So can you share a little bit more about that revenue stream?
Yes. So to be frank, it's not a huge. So for us, meal replacement equals trifecta, plus again products and supplements. So it's a third party meal replacement system that we use. It is what do we call it? It's based on a ketogenic product, is what it is. But again, for someone that's trying to lose weight and just doing the weight loss medications on their own, but are not combining that with a good nutrition program, that can be, that you may have some side effects with that. So it's nice that we have that partnership with them to support that. And that's how we really drive that. So anybody in the entire country can engage in that through our partnership with them.
Oh, okay. So let's dive
Hmm.
into the business model itself from an
Yeah.
investor standpoint. This is an opportunity that is uh, it is available to anybody. You do not need to have a medical background to own a Lindora clinic, correct?
You are correct. Like any business in franchising that has a medical component to it, whether it be mental health or whether it be aesthetics or weight loss medications like we're offering, most of these companies have what's called a PC-friendly model or a management service organization in place that addresses the labor pool piece. And so, like, we have a partnership with one of these groups that gives us and our franchise partners access to thousands of doctors in every DMA that we operate in. And they also provide a long list of support that comes with that partnership. In addition to that, again, one of the benefits of working with a large franchisor like an Xponential and Lindora is that we have a chief medical officer on staff as well to assist with making sure that the business model is set up properly. To kind of oversimplify it, there are different state requirements in all of the states, but in general, there's kind of model A, B, and sometimes C in terms of setting up the business and how that works. But as you mentioned, to simplify it, anyone without a that's not a doctor or does not have any medical background can sign a franchise agreement and open a Lindora anywhere in the country. Our owners in this model are not owner operators, so they will not be in the day-to-day operations. They will have a GM that really runs the day-to-day operations. So their responsibilities of the franchisee are largely to manage the manager, manage the labor pool, manage the business by the numbers, or the KPIs, if you will, key performance indicators, and essentially be a leader in the business in the community in those markets that we operate in.
So, from a GM perspective, what type of background are you looking for the GMs of the Lindora clinics?
Yeah, great question, because one might assume that they're have a medical background. So for the GM itself, essentially they are a basically a very focused individual around. They're highly sales focused individuals, what they are, because one of their key drivers is going to be to drive the memberships in the front half of the business. This business has a membership based aspect to it with the core weight loss program, and so that is a key component of it. Other responsibilities of the GM would be to manage other team members within the business, obviously, oversee some of the marketing responsibilities and such underneath the owner. So, but they do, again, they are not typically a medical professional. You will have, like an RN and LVNs in the business, depending on how much the franchisee is scaling will determine how many of those employees you need. But the GM itself is not a doctor. Also worth mentioning, a very unique aspect of how we approach HR support as a franchisor, I'd say is very different from most. And again, not throwing shade on others, but most franchisors do not really want to assist with the recruiting process. They'll give you SOPs on proper hiring practices, but they don't want to really have a part in that, because if an employee didn't work out, then they feel the liability is on them. We take an opposite lens to that, and looking at the fact that we've hired literally thousands and thousands of employees across the 3,000 stores that we have open today across our 11 brands. So the bigger liability for us is not helping our new partner with that recruiting, hiring, training process of new hires. So we actually have a full recruiting team that helps our franchisees with recruiting really literally every employee in the business from front to back. You're recruiting resumes and in fact going through those resumes and even making recommendations on proper hires. At the end of the day, obviously, it's the franchisees' right to hire who they want. We're not Big Brother, but we do assist in that process, and we do find that those that really follow our play tend to do the best, as you might guess.
And that's pretty powerful because when talking to clients, one of the main concerns is staffing, really across
Absolutely.
any industry, but I would say, or I would think that given the professional aspect of the employees that are being hired, uh, retention is much greater than in many other industries.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I always tell people in my 30 years in franchising and having been a multi-unit franchisee in multiple systems, but all I know is semi-absentee retail and health and wellness. That's been my lane for 30 years. So I always tell people when they ask me, hey, what are my biggest challenges going to be? I'll tell them point blank, it's going to be real estate and employees. But it's not because, we're in health and wellness or personal training or, in weight loss. It's because we're in retail and we're hiring humans. So, but I do, to your point, I try to coach that while not saying it's easy, I don't like to use that word, but we have a substantial edge, I think, over most in competing for those two things, whether it be real estate or whether it be employees. Those are really two of our special sauces here at Xponential. In fact, we have a full real estate team underneath our roof. We have 400 employees, here at Xponential, and a sizable real estate team that supports our franchise partner with that whole site selection, lease negotiation process to ensure that they're set up for success. Again, same with employees. And to your point, one of the things I look at when I'm looking at even acquiring a concept, but as an investor, I look at the labor pool. What does that look like? Is it a minimum wage earner that didn't set out in their life to flip burgers for a lifetime? You're going to turn over that employee a lot more than you will an employee that, hey, they got licensed to do this, or they got educated to work in this field, or their passion is to make a positive impact on people's lives. So that type of employee in my mind is a great employee. Not saying for a second you're not going to have turnover. It certainly happens in this business, but to your point, it's a lot more minimal when you get the right people into your business. Really, the biggest key is, again, it seems self-explanatory, but it's really the reality is the owners really need to take care of those employees, and that's not always just monetary. That means really making them feel like they're supported, they have the tools they need to do their job, but they also are in an environment that they really enjoy doing their craft or whatever their responsibility is, and they're treated well in that business. That's going to keep them there a lot longer than even a higher salary at times. So but we do pay very competitively, and as an example, like with nurses, a lot of these are working in an ER, doing a 12-hour shift for 3 days a week or something to that tune. And that's a high stress position. And so a lot of them will love working, part-time for a few days in a Lindora in a really a very positive environment where they're, again, really helping people make positive life changes and not, having to deal with gunshot wounds and stabbings and things, so it's people really, really like working in the model.
So let me ask you this. You've touched on the membership model, which in turn is recurring revenue for the investor, which is very
Mhm.
attractive to
Yes.
many investors when they're evaluating a franchise. With the Lindora model and its services, do you have an idea of what the typical longevity is of a member?
I don't have that KPI off the top of my head, although I have heard that the membership piece is very, very sticky, meaning there's three levels of membership. There's really what we call the general membership. We have the plus, and then we have the maintenance. Okay, so people really typically fall back to the maintenance and stay on that program so that they can keep the weight loss off, which is, I think, really a key component of this, is that it's not a yo-yo diet. It's not a fad. It's not something that they're going to have drastic fast weight loss and then put it all back on a month later. So we want to help that member to keep that weight off. So this is sustainable weight loss. Our average member loses 18 to 24 pounds in a 10-week weight loss program. For members that are looking to lose more than 20 pounds, they can do another 10-week program, and then they go into a maintenance level. But we've had people lose, hundreds of pounds in Lindora, and others that just want to lose 20 pounds. So it varies. But again, back to the wellness piece, this is not just about, hey, I want to lose this weight and then I'm out of here. People really tend to stay with this. Again, a good example with testosterone replacement or estrogen progesterone replacement for women. These are things that people will stay on for years, if not, for the rest of their life, because of how it makes them feel. And again, it reduces the effects of aging, and there's so many benefits to doing that. So these types of products are very sticky, and we see a lot of longevity with some of these different things that we can offer. And again, one of the nice things about the model is we don't have all of our eggs in one basket, if you will. So there's multiple revenue streams here that drive the average unit volumes that we see in our financial performance representations at about 1 million per clinic.
That is incredible. And I mean, I can personally attest to some of these services, like the hormone replacement. Those types of services can be game changers to individuals in how they feel on a day-to-day basis. So this is really a model that is allowing individuals to make, or allowing investors to make a difference in people's lives and a feel-good business. Uh, so I know
No
you.
doubt about it. I mean, just to add to that, I mean, I've talked to many people. Example with women going through menopause, it's a very tough time, and the hormones can really cause depression and things that are very difficult, during that phase. And so to kind of get through that, and be happier and healthier, and be able to lose the weight. Sometimes people going through menopause, sometimes you can eat a perfect diet, exercise, 6 days a week, and still be putting weight on, and it's frustrating. But on a proper, if you're on a proper weight loss program with some of these medications, you'll see phenomenal results. And so it's really exciting for folks that they can, have that opportunity.
Yeah, I just happened to be at that age, which was the precursor to how I got on hormone replacement. But yeah, I thank you for adding that in. Uh, so let me ask you, oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Good thing we're not live, huh? I'm like, I know what I was going to ask you. So let me ask you about competition. Early on, you mentioned that this is unlike any other brand out there. What would you say, or what type of business model would you say is the closest competitor to a Lindora?
I don't want to, I don't want to sound arrogant with response, but there really isn't another nationally franchised model of substance that's really this focused on this metabolic wellness piece that we are today. So we're really the first and only of its kind. I would say probably the closest thing would be a Medi weight loss clinic. But again, they are lacking, or, I would say don't have some of the service opportunities or products that we do within our model that we feel are really, substantial.
Oh,
But that's what I love about this is today, really, I would say those that are doing something similar to this are largely independent. So meaning mom and pops that are, trying to figure it out, if you will. So there's not really another large brand that you're competing with, which is pretty special given the growth potential of this. And then, if you look at, again, the experience we have, and you're looking at a, 50-year-old brand here. So that's, again, it's kind of an oxymoron of sorts, or a unicorn when it comes to that type of opportunity. There will be others, of course, as we grow, but as we've seen, we have the ability to really drive rapid growth in our brands, to control market share, own the real estate, and really be first to market, to, again, be, the Coca-Cola in each segment, if you will. We've done that example with Stretch Lab. We're the largest provider of stretch in the world now today. Really the first getting into that kind of vertical, if you will. Same with Club Pilates as an example. I've got just short of 1,000 units operating on that brand here, in the US. And I can't really tell you who my number two second competitor in terms of a franchise model is. So that's why when I hear people, and we'll hear the same thing on Lindora, they say, "Oh yeah, I see these things on every corner popping up. There's a lot of competition." I couldn't disagree more with that, because, and no shade on independence, but I don't really see those as threats in the marketplace. They are throwing it against the wall every month, hoping it sticks. And God bless them for trying, but they just don't have a what I call a blueprint for success to ensure that they're going to have longevity with this. They don't have the ability to do R&D. They don't have the resources to support that we do. Frankly, I mean, Entrepreneur came out and said it's the success rate of all franchise concepts. There's 3,000 franchise stores in business today, is 93%. It's a 7% failure rate, which is actually very, very good. Ours is much lower than that in our system, in fact. But just looking at franchising in general. So just speaking to your independents, 87% of those fail after the first year. So that's why I really, see this as a phenomenal opportunity as a nationally franchised model without really a head-to-head competitor that you're going against today, because we'll grow at a rate that's so fast that, again, we'll own the market share, and it makes it very difficult for others to penetrate later.
You've made some great points. Well, I would have to agree with you, number one, that I don't see a head-to-head competitor across the franchise industry that has the type of services and focus that Lindora does. And, it's funny you mentioned the success rate of franchise brands, because twice this week, I've already been challenged about the value of investing in a franchise versus starting your own business. And at the end of the day, I really, I've learned just to say, if you are questioning the value of a franchise, then you're probably not the right person to invest in a franchise, because I'm not here to sell a franchise or sell you on the franchise model. I mean, the data speaks for itself, right? And Entrepreneur Magazine is a great source. So, sorry, I took a little side angle there, but it just really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love emerging brands. My listeners have probably picked up on that by now. I am an absolute fan. One, because you get prime pick of territory. So that to me is a big contributor to the success, as well as being in the right spot at the right time. But Lindora is different. And you mentioned it's somewhat of a unicorn. And I like that analogy, in the respect that Lindora has been in business with this model for over 50 years. There are 31 operating locations to date. What's new is the opportunity to become a franchise owner in the brand.
Well
I
put.
want to expand on that a little bit. And you shared that Xponential, the breadth of Xponential, the number of brands you have under your umbrella. Um, I think that again speaks volumes to Xponential choosing to bring Lindora into your umbrella as well.
Oh, you're spot on. I always say you're absolutely right. The biggest benefit of getting into an emerging brand is you're going to be able to especially in retail, you're going to be able to secure. And if you want something that's semi-absentee, you're pretty much looking at retail, because you're going to have employees. If you're doing owner operator, that's different. But if you're looking at retail, you really want to secure some of the best territories in your area, in a designated market area. I always say those, Cherry Creeks or Buckhead, Sandy Springses and Bellevues and, Frisco, Planos are available once. And literally, if you're not first in those markets, you'll never get it. And so that's really a huge opportunity. But typically, if you're looking at an emerging brand, and it's not a bad thing, but you're going to have to accept that you're going to be an early adopter. The franchisors, they haven't scaled beyond a handful of units nationally, so they're learning as they go largely, and so you just have to accept that as part of the process, and that's okay. So why I say this is kind of a unicorn is, and then on the flip side, say typically, I'll give you an example. If you're looking at our Club Pilates brand, I've got 1,000 licenses there, proven, tried and true. It doesn't get any better, but there's no territory left, so you've missed it, right? It's too late. So it's hard to find that balance of like getting into something that say, okay, this is proven enough for me to feel confident that I can be in this for, say it's a 20-year brand, and jump off the diving board here and feel comfortable with that. So this is such a rare one in that, again, this is a very, very mature brand that's obviously proven that it's sustainable. And again, knowing that there's so much growth to be had in this space, it's projected to hit 400 billion by the year 2030. Even Ozempic spending alone, they're projecting at 100 billion by 2035. So you look at all that growth potential, getting in early, being able to secure some of the best territories in a market. At the same time, you're doing that with a franchisor that literally has 3,000 units operating today, 6,000 licenses awarded globally in 23 countries, and is the largest health and wellness franchisor by a landslide. So you've got leadership, resources there to support you, a blueprint for success to come into, and then have that emerging brand. So that's why I really feel that that's extremely rare to see in franchising, and that's why I think we're so excited about it. Partly, yeah, for sure.
So let me ask you, and I should have asked this a little bit earlier, is there any insurance aspect to Lindora, or is it a
Not today. Yeah,
self?
not today. We're cash only, if you will. And I think that's a good thing. Honestly, it's definitely an opportunity that we could pursue down the road, but we're doing so well on the cash side of it, that it's a lot less painful than working with insurance agencies. So today it's cash only.
Okay. And on a last note, Lance, who is your ideal investor? What does that persona look like?
Well, believe it or not, it's someone likely without without a medical background or a doctor. Not saying that if you have that background, that we wouldn't be interested in talking to them or awarding them. But we love folks that come in with a clean slate, that really want to grab a hold of that blueprint for success that I've been talking about and follow we call it the playbook. You know this with all your experience in franchising, but our top performing franchisees in the country across all our brands are not doing anything different. All they're doing is they're executing our plan better than everybody else. So we really are looking for people that want to leverage what we've built here, and put that to work for themselves to really build a great business in their communities, be able to get into something that's semi-absentee. Our typical owner is not an owner operator. In fact, many of them maintain a corporate position while building this in parallel, because these things are GM operated. So they can spend anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 hours a week on these things, depending on where they're at in the business cycle. But in general, we're looking for people that have some great people skills or leadership skills, if you will, because they're, again, going to be managing the manager and kind of building that winning team culture in the business. Some good business acumen to operate, a business model like this. Those that really want to make a difference in their communities and help make a positive impact on people's lives with a brand like this in health and wellness. And again, people that really want to leverage and follow our play. We're not really looking for the serial entrepreneur that wants to do their own thing. Again, they tend to veer off the proven path, and it's not what we're looking for. So for those, I always encourage them that they should go do their own thing. But yeah, so that's our typical. I mean, I would say, forgive the term, but our very high percentage of our thousands of franchisees that we have are really what I call corporate refugees. Some of them have built illustrious careers in corporate America, maybe gone through a downsizing, don't want to look for another 6-figure income in an 80-hour work week, and say, hey, I can get into franchising, invest in something that can replace that income, but also give myself a lifestyle that gives me more flexibility to do the things that I want to do, and at the same time build equity in a business that's worth something if I want to sell it in 7 to 10 or a few years down the road for a multiple on EBITDA. So that's our typical operator. The other thing I would say is our typical operator is usually not looking to, it's not their dream to own and operate a single clinic, if you will. They're looking to build a little more substantial business, most typically something that they can scale across multiple units. My average Xponential owner owns 2.9 units. So most of our owners own 3, if you will, of our concepts. And that's going to be very typical in this Lindora model as well. So most of our owners will scale over time to build a little more substantial business, build that nice reoccurring income that they can realize for years to come. And then if they choose to hand it down to the kids as a legacy business, or even sell it and for a nice payday, that's the path that they're on. We also find that a lot of our franchise partners, because we do have 11 brands, really like our our business model, which you might guess is really kind of overlaid across all of our platforms. So we have in fact, it's double-digit percentage of franchisees that own multiple units with us in multiple brands. So they continue they first scale and then diversify and scale further in some of our brands. So we see that quite a bit in our business as well. And as a lot of our executives have said, peace out to corporate America.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Lance, thank you so much for joining me. I am very excited about Lindora. We were talking before we got started that you have your first confirmation day coming up here within the next couple of weeks for Lindora. So we will start to see some of those first franchisee awards being announced here in the next month, I would assume.
You will, and a lot of them. So this will be probably one of the fastest growing concepts of 2024 and 25, likely, as we kind of start to build this one out. So exciting times ahead.
Yeah, I foresee that with you. All right. For anybody that is interested in learning more about Lindora, please feel free to reach out to me at Stacie@fusionfranchising.com. Thanks and have a great day.